Good afternoon. This is the Civil Service Commission. Good afternoon. This is the Sacramento County Civil Service Commission, January 22nd, 2021. In compliance with directives of the county, state, and Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, this meeting is live streamed and closed to the public. Temporary procedures are subject to change pursuant to guidelines related to social distancing and minimizing person-to-person contact. To make verbal comments at today's meeting, please dial 916-875-2500 and follow the prompts to be placed in a queue for a specific agenda item or off-agenda item matter. When the chair opens public comment for a specific agenda item or an off-agenda matter, callers will be transferred from the queue into the meeting to make a verbal comment. Written comments are always accepted. Please send your email comment to boardclerk@saccounty.net. Your comment will be routed to the board and filed in the record. Mr. Chairman, I yield the meeting to you.
I will call the meeting of January 22nd, 2021 at 1:41 p.m. to order. Roll call and declaration of a quorum. Gina, would you please call our roll?
Okay. Commissioner Blois?
Here.
Commissioner Johnson?
Here.
Commissioner Purdy?
Here.
And Commissioner Suter?
Here.
We have a quorum.
You also need to call Commissioner Nelson's name.
Nelson.
Commissioner Nelson. Not here.
Thank you.
And my note here, Alice, says you have a statement to make or announcement.
Yes, I have an announcement to make. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Today, our item number 7, which was the public hearing for an exam disqualification appeal number 6278-20, has been canceled. The appellant withdrew his appeal yesterday, so the appeal was closed and the hearing is thereby canceled. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
I will move to public comment. I will note at this time, anyone may address the commission regarding any item that is not already scheduled on today's meeting agenda and is within the commission's subject matter jurisdiction via email at boardclerk@saccounty.net. However, the commission may not take action on such items except as authorized by Government Code Section 54954.3 and Civil Service Commission Rule 14.13. Please ask the clerk. Clerk, do we have any public comment?
No public comment received.
Okay. We'll read this. After public, please close, or I'm closing public comment. The next item up for adoption is we're moving to consent matters. Do any of the commissioners have any questions concerning the consent matters, or we can take them up as a whole? And that should be item 4, 5. If I don't hear anything, may I hear a motion?
I move that we approve
the commission meetings and received and filed the monthly and quarterly Department of Personnel reports.
I move approval of item 4 and 5. Ron Suter.
And this is Nick Blois. I second that.
If there are no questions, I will call the question, and would you call roll call, and we'll vote on that.
Gina?
Yep, I'm coming. Commissioner Blois?
Okay, that's...
Yeah.
Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Commissioner Purdy?
Yes.
And Commissioner Suter?
Yes.
We also have to call Commissioner Nelson, even though he's not here, please.
Oh, okay. Commissioner Nelson?
Thank you. Because he may call in, so we
Oh,
just need to.
okay.
Okay, can I vote for him? We can't see each other, and it makes it tough. My understanding is we adopted the consent matters 4-0. We now move to item 6. Accept the Department of Personnel Services monthly provisional appointments status report, and this is the report for December 2020. And Ms. Honey, you have anything to report to us on that?
Yes, good afternoon, Carla Honey. For the provisional report for December, I have one update. There's 3 provisionals on that list, and the one collection services supervisor, the list was established on January 14th. The provisional is reachable. So no other changes at this time to the report. So unless you have any questions, I request that you please receive and file the provisional report for the month of December 2020.
Are there any questions? If not, I would entertain a motion to receive and file.
Motion to receive and file, Commissioner Blois.
Second, Commissioner Suter.
Gina, could you call the roll call, please?
Commissioner Blois,
Aye.
Commissioner Johnson,
Aye.
Commissioner Nelson, Commissioner Purdy,
Aye.
Commissioner Suter.
Aye.
And 4-0. We'll move to item 7, which we've already announced has been canceled. So the item 8 is the quarterly status report by Department of Personnel Services on classification studies previously approved by the Civil Service Commission.
So, Mr. Chairman, because this is just an
Yes.
informational item, then you can simply, if commissioners have any questions for Ms. Honey, then they can ask them now. Otherwise, no action, and there is no report.
Okay, does anyone have any questions?
Nope.
Well, I will thank Ms. Honey for a job well done.
Yes.
Thank you.
Mr. Suter, did you have a question?
No, I do not.
Did you have a question? Okay.
No, I did not.
All right.
The only questions I
With
had today were on item 7. And since we don't have that, I have no questions.
Wow. With that, we will move to item 9, the Executive Officer's Report. And I will turn this over to our Executive Officer.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, members of the Commission. The Commission's next meeting is scheduled for February 5th. However, the meeting will be canceled due to COVID implications. Our next meeting is scheduled to be on the 19th of February, wherein Commissioners will consider recommendations stemming from the 2020 Solid Waste and Recycling Series class study. In addition, you'll hear one failed drug appeal. At our March 19th meeting, you're tentatively scheduled to consider recommendations to the county's classification plan stemming from the 2020 Construction Labor Compliance Series class study, as well as from the 2020 Voter Registration and Election Series class study. I'll also have your budget for the 2021-22 fiscal year ready for your review at that March meeting. At the April 23rd meeting, you may consider recommendations to the Sacramento County classification plan stemming from the 2020 traffic signs maintenance worker class study. I closed one exam disqualification appeal and one release from probation appeal this week after both were withdrawn by their respective appellants. Currently, there are 4 released from probation, 1 failed drug test, 1 allocation, and one failed psychological evaluation appeal pending before the commission. Also, just to note, as you know, your budget will be presented to you at the March meeting, so I am going to be busy working on that as well, as we need to get a preliminary budget to the county executive office by the 19th of February. So I will be working on that. I don't expect that our budget will increase by much than just regular cost of business cost increases. So no big cost increases expected at this time. Likewise, no large cuts are anticipated either. So good to hear with our very tiny budget. And that concludes my report for today.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions of the report? Hearing none, I had a couple questions. Alice, the appeals that we have, which I know has been very difficult to schedule because of the virus and the way we're handling the meeting. You mentioned there's been a drug appeal and some probations and disqualification. How long have they been pending?
Different amounts of time. We have a couple of release from probation appeals that are pretty new. We have one that's been around for a very, very long time that was rescheduled several times by the hearing officer, either at the request of the appellant or the county, or there was COVID or something. But I will tell you that there is a bit of a backlog with county council, and their ability to have appeal hearings heard she's really behind. So it's a little bit difficult.
When you say really behind, are we talking weeks, months, or years?
We're talking months. We're talking, I just had a release from probation appeal that's ready to be scheduled for hearing. That is to be, so we can get dates. And I asked her what month she was available. She said that she was booking from November. Right now she was booking into November and December. Luckily she had something in July, but it's incredible. I don't know, we don't control their workload. The county counsel's office there was another appeal where they assigned it to somebody else. And of course that was the appeal that the appellant withdrew. But those are the longest ones that we've had. We have a psychological appeal that's been floating around, but we're waiting for the appellant. Again, in that instance, he has to get a secondary psychological evaluation before we can move forward, and he just hasn't done that. I just reached out to him again, asking him if he wanted to continue.
Is that his problem being able to schedule it?
It's in his.
Or is it through the county physician?
No, it has nothing to do with the county. This is something that he gets on his own with his own money, and he's having.
Yeah, I understand.
So that's So that's the deal. We've got we have some release from probation appeals that are old. That's for sure.
I don't mean to interrupt, but what you announced is we are, what I think, still in January, and you're telling me we're hearing from county council on probation appeals that the person that is handling those is looking at November.
Yes.
Did I hear you correctly?
Yes, you did, Mr. Chairman.
If I, as one member of the commission I believe that is unacceptable, that, justice delayed is justice denied. And I do not know what pressures they're under. I know everybody can blame the virus, but that seems to be a very long time. At least looking at the day on our intern schedule, it appeared to be county council or district attorney had tons of interns. Get somebody to do something. What do we do if we're unhappy?
I could certainly send a letter to county council that would basically, on behalf of the commission, if that's what the commissioners wanted, to just indicate our concern in the delay of the administrative hearings.
I would like to do it. I would like to have an understanding of there may be excellent reasons why they have to be delayed that long, but the little bit you have been able to provide me did not really answer that, and I don't want to start telling people what to do, but I just like to understand better. But to have a 10-month delay on a hearing, the only people that benefit that is management and does nothing for the employee. And part of our obligation, I think we should meet employees' expectation of just trying to do things on a timely basis. So if you could find out maybe a little bit more before we send a letter, which gets kind of formal, just going, how can we help you go faster?
I think that, to be honest with you, Mr. Chairman, I think that I have done as much that I can do, and about trying to get them scheduled quicker. In this particular instance, when she had indicated November or December, she said that she had a cancellation in July, so she kept that open for this one. So now this will be heard in July, but it.
But we have to worry, other than that case, the future cases.
Yes, what has been explained to me has been that essentially that is what her workload is demanding right now. That her ability to participate in the hearings is driving when,
it is getting to a point. It is affecting the ability of the commission to perform its role on a reasonable, adequate basis.
That's why I think that it would be at this point, because again, I have been struggling with this for a long time, Mr. Chairman. It has been, as I have expressed to the commission in the past, it's very difficult for me to schedule some of these hearings. There are some hearings that are assigned to other staff that are able to be heard, within a couple of months. That seems to be much more realistic because the hearing officer also has to be available. I mean, there are lots of different moving parts. I've never had a problem with a couple of months, but 6 to 9 to 12 months just is not. I agree. I'm a justice delayed, justice denied kind of a person, but I have been unable to get this to move along any further at my level. So I think that if the commission wanted to direct me to send a letter just expressing concern with the delay with some of the hearings, that I could certainly do that. If you would prefer to wait until you get an appeal, a release from probation appeal that comes before you, when you can actually see the timetable and what has happened, and then ask that the letter be written, that would be, that would be acceptable as well. But that could be a while. Right now,
I would. Excuse me. Go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
I was just going to say the soonest hearing right now. We have one appeal that is scheduled for administrative hearing on March 26th. So that is the soonest that one will be heard by an administrative hearing officer. So then that we would expect that we should get a proposed decision in that case, probably about 45 to 60 days after that.
I don't know if I'm I don't know if I'm the only commissioner that the delays seem excessive. And I think all on the commission would probably like everything to work on a very on a timely basis. I don't know what the other commissioners may think or would want to do. I mean, at the most, you say we could send a letter and just going, hey, hurry up. But I do not want to direct you or I don't want to do that till I get other input, let's say from the commission, that they may think there's a better way of doing it, or we should stand and wait for a while. I don't mind sending a letter, but I would like to think it would have a positive effect, and maybe it will not.
Yes, I thought to myself that what would be the ideal situation for this is that if there was an appeal, when we get a release from probation appeal that finally comes to the commission, a lot of times what has been happening lately is that they finally are ready to be heard, they're on the books, and then the appellant withdraws at the last minute. So you haven't had a release from probation before you for a while. You'll get one, like I said, probably in May or June. It'll probably be the soonest that the commission will hear one, because it's set at the end of March. So, probably the May meeting or the June meeting is when you would have the Civil Service Commission hearing. And at that time, I was just going to say, at that time, you will see that through the evidence of the record, the delay that has occurred with that particular appeal. So you could point to something if you wanted to point to something and say, this came up to us this way. It's up to you. Or I can send a letter. But I just know that I have done all that I can do to try to get these hearings scheduled sooner. I respect that some of them got canceled when COVID hit and we had a stay-at-home order. That was, that's nobody's fault. But then trying to reschedule them has been very difficult. To be honest with you, commissioners, scheduling these hearings are my very least favorite part of my entire job. That's how frustrating it is to me.
My difficulty dealing with justice delayed and all that is that those who are filing the appeal, they're just getting ground down with time, losing faith or confidence in the system at all. And I don't like pointing fingers. I would just like it to work. I have not heard any of my fellow commissioners, their thoughts of what they think is a positive way of moving forward.
Ron Suter here. I would take the recommendation of our executive officer. If she thinks we ought to write a letter, we'll write a letter. If she thinks we ought to wait, then I would be in favor of waiting. So it's really, sometimes it's waiting and people kind of dismiss it, so they just back out because they don't want to. It's 6 months after they filed it and they probably moved on. It's not fair to the employee to let them move on. But again, the county can only do so much. And I don't know if it's maybe we ask the question, why is there such a delay, as opposed to, we're upset with the delay. I would prefer to couch it in asking the question why there is such a delay, as opposed to we're upset with the delay.
Yeah.
So that kind of goes along with what you said, Mike, in that if the more information we can gather, the better we can make a decision on what's our next step.
Yeah, it's very difficult to ask somebody to do something if they can't do it.
Yeah.
And it seems like they should be able to do it, but I don't know their world.
I don't either.
Yeah. So
I would take.
We'll ask more questions and
Alice does.
Okay.
So Alice, what is your recommendation?
Well, really,
I think our case would be.
I was just going to say.
I think our case would be a lot stronger if we had a specific illustration.
Yes.
Yes, and so my thought is, like I said, if we had an appeal that came before the commission for hearing, then the commissioners can say, why I'm looking at this timeline, and I'm wondering what was the delay. You know, we received it here, and we could walk through the delay, and then, you know, and say if the commission felt that that was unreasonable, they could, you know, we could write a letter just saying it's, you know, we had an appeal that came before us. We understand this is not an isolated case, and we're just concerned about the delay. Is there something that the commission can do further to help expedite, you know, something like that? Because I'd like the commission to be able to say, you know, you see the hearing, you see the appeal that comes before you. I always provide you with a timeline, and so you can actually see it. Okay, it was filed on X date, but it wasn't actually heard until a year later. You know, that what caused that? You know, and the reality is, I break it all down in the appeal with the timeline. I explain to you, you know, if it's been rescheduled or who requested and so forth. But, you know, that's when you can say, you know, we were concerned about the fact that we were unable to get this scheduled sooner.
The
Unfortunately,
difficulty I have with Alice, I agree with that, and I agree with in a way with Mr. Purdy and Ron. If we waited till we had a solid case, you're talking about waiting till now June or July. That's another 5-6 months out. I'm looking at how many people just get up and walk away.
Yeah.
If we know it's wrong now, and it's going to be wrong in the future, I'd rather stick my neck out a little bit, embarrass myself for going, let's try to hurry it up, other than at that time pointing the finger. I mean, everybody knows we're not going to have a happy ending with this by delaying it. We're just waiting for them to have a bigger failure.
Yes, right
Senator,
now.
Mike, I agree with you that there will be a lot of people that fall through the cracks if we wait and have a timeline that is so far out. Again, my concern is if Alice feels there's a delay and she's having problems with that now, I don't need to have a timeline for her to tell me I'm having a problem. If she tells me as a commission that she's having a problem, then I think we ought to propose a letter saying our executive officer is having a problem. Why is that problem occurring?
I agree with you, Mr. Souter. What I would ask our executive director is, I think that makes a lot of sense. But do you see realistically anything really changing between now and July?
I don't know. What I think is that what I can tell you is this: the person that manages most of these appeals for county council, it is her workload that drives when these can be heard, and she's indicated that, you know, in order to perform her duties as required, she can only process so many appeals a month. She can only have a certain number of appeals heard a month. And so her schedule is based on that. And I am unable to push her or ask her to change that because I don't have any authority over her workload.
Okay.
But if we sent a letter to council, then, you know, perhaps they can assign somebody else to assist with the appeals. Because I do know that there was the case where there was an appeal that was assigned to somebody else, and it was scheduled for hearing this week. But the appellant, at the last minute, the hearing was scheduled for Tuesday, and then she, on Friday, at the end of the day, she had requested to withdraw her appeal. And part of that was, you know, the union was going to represent her, and then they decided they weren't. And so then she decided to just withdraw. But in that case, it was
setting those hearing dates could move things along. Either people get off the pot or not. And, you know, let's stop dragging paper around with this for a long time. But okay.
It just seems
I would agree with Mrs. Souter. You have that the executive director, you have a better feel of what your needs are. And I think you
Mhm.
heard what our concerns are. So
Alice,
Right
I know
now-
writing a letter to the person who does it isn't doing any good. You have to send it to the county legal staff. The
It
attorney
has
for the
to go to
county.
county council. Yes,
County
absolutely.
council. It has to go to her.
That's-
She then will determine where the priorities lie. And I think that
Exactly.
if you're feeling frustrated, then you need to do it. Because I would hate to have a lawsuit come down 6 months from now saying that we the commission kept putting it off. We're not putting off. So we need to tell them at county council that we're not putting it off. It's not happening. And we don't want to take responsibility for something that they're dragging their feet on. I don't want people to point the finger at us saying, well, the Civil Service Commission is just not hearing it. So we dropped it and went somewhere else. That's not right.
Well, and they would never be able to prove that. They would never, because of the steps that go with the
I know that.
appeal.
I know that. But
But
you know,
the thing is, proving it is, reality is one thing, proving it is another. Reality is our system for us, Civil Service Commission, is not working as smoothly,
It's not
or
working.
as efficiently as we would hope.
Yes.
I feel, if that's true, we have an obligation to say something.
Alice, this is Commissioner
Yes.
Blois. I'm going to put something totally out of the box out on this one. It might help. It might definitely stir the pot. Throw in our budget money for one of their aides to work exclusively for us. Is that possible?
I would doubt highly that we would be able to get the funds necessary to have our own council. I mean, I'm sorry. The county council is representing the county. So they're not working for us. They're working for the county. So it wouldn't make any sense for that person to be under our budget because they're representing the county. They're represent, or you mean if our budget paid for a person in county council?
Yeah. At halftime.
I don't. Yeah,
Would it work?
our budget wouldn't. Yeah, our budget we would. I don't think I would be able to get. Because we're general fund, and so the Board of Supervisors, I cannot imagine they would approve us an augmentation in our budget to help fund someone in county council
Alice?
to represent the county. Yeah.
I think the idea that was brought up was maybe not so much an idea that would get passed, but an idea that would get noticed of why are you doing this? And going, this may not be the right remedy, but you gave me no other way to go. And it's sending a message.
Exactly.
That basically what you're saying now is county council is dragging us down at their timetable and we have no control.
I think with all due respect, I think that what would be a much more effective use of our time, because remember you have just me, is if we sent a letter to the county council, to Lisa Travers, she's the county council, and just express our concern that it is taking months for some of these release from probation appeals to be heard, and that, I'd like to be able to let them know that we're concerned that justice is being delayed. The ideal situation really is for them to perhaps assign another attorney to assist or manage the workload of their staff, which we can't really tell them what to do. That's not our job. But that's how this is resolved. It needs to be resolved from their end. Okay. And I think if we could put it to their attention, asking through the budget process, that would just create an enormous amount of work. for something,
Yes,
I
it
think
would.
that we would be criticized. We would get criticized for doing that without doing, we haven't even sent a letter to them yet. So I just, that's my concern.
I think you are
Barry,
absolutely
I just wanted to
correct.
say, I mean, I'm watching the process, Alice, and I sit as chair on a lot of stuff, and I was in the Army and watched over stuff. So if you think we should send a letter to their boss and get action that way, but just sitting here and not doing anything, I'm more proactive than most people. So I don't mind CCing the Board of Supervisors if necessary. Is there any liability that we're looking at for not getting these cases sooner? Can these
No,
probation...
there's no. The liability really is that there isn't any legal liability, but and again, I would be happy to send a letter. I've been concerned, and we have talked about this. It was probably prior to your time, Commissioner, but we as a commission have talked about this. That I brought it up that we've had these release from probation appeals that have been delayed. It really has happened since, we used to have another person that handled these in county council, and they retired. And the person who did it previously had been doing it for so many years, they could do many of these a month. And now we have somebody who may be newer and isn't able to do as many a month. And so it is really, I believe that these need to be heard sooner. 9 months from now, sometimes the hearings get scheduled and then they're continued, and so they don't get heard for 9 months because you already had a hearing date, and then someone, canceled that hearing date at the last minute. So then we have to get new dates. And so that happens that way, I understand. But trying to get the initial hearing scheduled 7 to 8 months out, to me, is excessive for me. I believe it's excessive. And so I think if we can send a letter to the chief county counsel and express our concern, and it would not come from me, it's coming from the commission. Because again, I've done as much as I can do at my level, but I think a letter would certainly make them aware of the issue. And I think that they may not be aware of the issue. And so I think that would be the route to go. I try not to step on people's toes. I'm trying to follow but if the commission felt it was a prudent, then certainly we could send that letter, and it would come from the chair of the commission. I would write it, but it's coming from you, someone who is appointed by the Board of Supervisors. So I think that would get some awareness, definitely. And I would hope that it would jog something. Mm-hmm.
With that said, and I'm agreeing with you, do you believe the appropriate action by the commission, should you just listen to us, feel that you understand our concerns, or do you want that in some type of a motion to direct you to do this?
I don't think that we need a motion because we have not put this on the agenda, so we can't really take action on an item. But what I could have is, if there's a general consensus from the commission that we draft a letter for signature by the chairman, then I could certainly do that without a formal motion. So it would just, Mr. Chairman, if you just ask if there's a general consensus, if anyone has any concern with that approach, that they should vocalize that concern now.
Anybody have any concerns?
Not I.
We get to do all this, and since I'm only temporary chairman, you get to draft this letter and give it to the chairman that's not here. I think that's great.
That's what happens when you don't show up to a meeting. I would even make him write it. I'd make him write it.
There we go. It'll be in his inbox.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I support that letter concept. So
great. Then I'll work on a letter. I'll work with the chairman to get the signature, and I think that really at this point is the best route to take. and we can see, we might notice something quickly. We haven't received a new release from probation appeal since December. We haven't received anything since that time. It doesn't mean we won't, but we just not on the release from probation side. The other appeals, I try to move them along as quickly as possible. As you know, I really try to get them before you as soon as we can. And, taking into account that we have to have responses from, the other party submitted and so forth. So the only other appeal that's really been on the books for a long time is an allocation appeal where it's affecting one individual, but her union has been representing her on that. And they were wanting to do the hearing when they could be together, as opposed to over the phone where they couldn't be in the same, so that, but that's the only one that is, that's been around a long time.
Could you work with them and I guess county clerk to figure out how we do that? And where everybody's
I can talk to them
comfortable?
again further. It's been a while since I've talked to the union rep, but I can circle around with them. But the rest of the
partially,
appeal,
you have limitations. And
Yes.
and going, I can do this, but these are my limits, and how can we work together and throw the ball back to them.
yes, and the union and I have been kind of talking on that one, and so I keep in touch with them. But the rest of the appeals, we had the exam disqualification appeal that was scheduled for today, but then he withdrew. We have the drug appeal that will be heard next time. And as I mentioned to you, we had some issues with the record on that one. So, but for the most part, the other appeals, because I can control when they're scheduled, they get scheduled in a reasonable time because I control that. So, and if there's a release from probation appeal, as soon as it has been heard by the hearing officer and a proposed decision has been rendered, then we schedule the hearing before the commission within 30 days. That we have to give them, the proposed decision goes out, and then we provide the hearing. We don't schedule a hearing before 30 days with regards to, to be consistent with the rules. But that's, and unless I have somebody say, the appellant says I can't make that meeting, or if there's a union representative, I can't make that meeting, the commission hearing, that happens too sometimes. You'll have the appellant say, they're not able to come that time. But those delays are not very long. Usually it's just maybe one meeting. So the big delay is really getting that initial administrative hearing that's conducted by the hearing officer, and the two parties have to agree as to when that hearing can be heard. And I have tried as much as I can to get those done as quickly as possible. Like I said, it's the least favorite part of my job, but I cringe when I have to ask when we can have something heard, and I just know it's going to be, months. So anyway, I'll work on the letter,
Okay.
and let's hope that that'll shake things loose a little bit.
At least we'll get a
Thank
response. I would ask for a response.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes,
Just a
I'll
letter that says-
ask if there's
Not just a letter
if
that
there's-
says we're concerned. I would ask for a response.
Yes, I'll let them know too if there's something that the commission can do to help expedite. If there's something we can do, which I know there isn't, but just to also put that in there.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. All right.
Is that the end of your report?
Yeah, that is all that I have for
That's
today.
it. I would say if there being no further business, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved, Ron Suter.
Second, Gordon Purdy.
Okay. Gina, would you call the roll call, please?
Yes. Commissioner Boyce,
Aye.
Commissioner Johnson,
Aye.
Commissioner Nelson, Commissioner Purdy,
Aye.
Commissioner Suter.
Aye.
All right. Well, thank you very much,
And,
gentlemen.
And see you next month. Be
Yes,
safe.
I will hear from everybody February 19th.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thanks, Alice.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.